Of May 5th, 2025 and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we all rise for a prayer by Deputy Mayor Pisner?
Our community has suffered a great loss. All of us knew in one way or another Joshua Martinez. Whether you knew him personally or you knew his family, his friends, we are suffering a great loss. I ask you tonight to join me in a moment of silence for Joshua, for his fiancée Renee, and his children, and all those that has left a hole in our hearts. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And can we have roll call, please?
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
Here.
Councilor Russo.
Here.
Councilor Santinella.
Here.
Councilor Ungary.
Here.
Councilor Sakala.
Here.
Councilor Crissati.
Here.
Councilor Hendrickson.
Here.
Councilor Ludwig.
Here.
Councilor Mangini.
Here.
Councilor Nasuda.
Here.
And Mayor Nelson.
Here.
11 members are present, none are absent.
Thank you. And next is, in the event of a fire and emergency, there's two means of exiting the council chambers. Exit out the rear doors and a safe distance away from the building, or out these doors here, go down one flight of stairs and out the rear of the building. Thank you. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of April 12th, 2025.
So moved, but it's April 21.
April 21, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, corrections, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? And next is the regular meeting of April 22nd, 2025.
So moved.
Comments, corrections, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We have one abstention. And the special meeting of April 23rd, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, corrections, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. And the special meeting of April 24th, 2025.
So moved.
Comments, corrections, or concerns? All in favor? Unanimous. One abstention. Sorry, John. And then the special meeting of April 29th, 2025.
So moved.
Any comments? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous. And the special meeting of April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, corrections, or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? And abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. Tonight, we have no special guests, so we'll move right into public communications. Any person who wishes to address the council shall first be recognized by the chair and shall state their name and address for the record. They shall limit their remarks to 5 minutes. After each person who desires has had the chance to speak, those desiring to speak a second time will be permitted to do so and shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. During public communications item 7 on the agenda, public members shall limit their remarks to 2 rounds, 8 minutes. During public communication item 16 on the agenda, if prior to 11 p.m., each person shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Public communication shall be limited to 1 hour unless extended by a majority vote of the council. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member. All remarks addressed to the administration of the town shall be addressed to the town manager and not an individual employee. Public members shall observe proper decorum and good conduct and shall refrain from personalities and improper language. Who would like to come up? Tom Kensler.
Wishful thinking, right? Good evening, everybody. First, I want to say thank you for what you do, especially at this time of year. I know it's very difficult. I've been cursory on the edge of it, in our department, trying to get our budgets done. I got 3 things I'd like to discuss tonight. Oh, yes. Tom Kinsler, Register of Voters, 359 Washington Road. The first is that we have got a confirmation from the state that on the 22nd, we're going to host a meeting here in the Skidco room at 9 a.m. For several towns, including ourselves, to train on the new equipment, which is now being released out to the towns. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a even more secure, more safe system for voting. It will not be hooked up to the internet. And we are really looking forward to it. It does a lot more for us. The scanning systems that it offers allow us to track ballots and pull ballots up. So when it comes time for recounting and things like that, it's much, much easier and more transparent. The second thing I want to discuss was we, in our budget process, have come up with some extra money after going back and re-scraping through the budget. Not a lot. We're a small department, but I understand that you folks have reduced us by $10,000, and we went and we found it through several different ways of restructuring what we do. We'll be asking for $11,110 less than we asked for before, so a little bit more to do our part. And again, I want to thank you. I know you're going through some tough times now, and it's all of us appreciate it because our taxes are pretty high, and I'd like them to not be much higher. Anyway, with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else? Ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Wilcox, and I live at 5 Sherrill Drive. Tonight, I'd like to thank the council for their hard work. But I sit before you, a lifelong resident of Enfields. I live in North Thompsonville and have done so for 58 years. I would like to talk tonight about how the ranking of schools impacts property values and how this impacts me personally and almost 8,000 members of our community who are around my age. I'm speaking of residents who are between 50 and 70 years old. In many ways, I am the typical Enfield resident. I am a teacher. My late husband was a machinist. We worked very hard to buy a beautiful Garrison colonial home. It isn't large, but it was perfect for us and our family. We have excellent neighbors and have enjoyed a safe, quiet neighborhood for 30 years. My family is grown, and having that type of house does not make sense for me at this stage in my life. I know downsizing is in my near future, but what I did not know is how the ranking of schools impacts the value of my home. I learned that, according to the New York Times, a 5% improvement in test scores can lead to a 2.5% increase in home values. I was so surprised to read that. The elimination of programs, classes, and staff from our schools will not support our students in achieving improved test scores, and I fear it will do the exact opposite. I also learned that 30% of buyers aged 33 to 42 likely to have young children consider quality of the school district as a top factor when selecting a town. My home and my neighborhood would be perfect for a young family, right? But those families will not choose Enfield if we do not have a quality school district. High-quality school districts means appropriate staffing and programs. No one wants their young children in a classroom with 30 other students or sitting in a study hall rather than taking an AP class. It is extremely discouraging to hear my friends say that they are glad that their grandchildren go to school in another town. They have grandchildren that profit from special programs that our students no longer can access. Everyone on this council is dedicated to improving this town. I know that. Please consider starting with our youngest. They deserve to go to an excellent school with dedicated staff. They deserve a stellar education. I feel like that's what I received growing up in Enfield. This requires an investment in our school system. Then consider the young families who are looking for safe and affordable homes. They are our future taxpayers who will positively contribute to this town. They will take pride in their homes and their community. Don't we want people like that to choose to live here in Enfield? Then consider people like me. I have spent my entire life in this town. My home is the biggest investment my husband and I made and will be part of my nest egg in retirement, as many other people have done the same thing. The choices you make in the next week will impact every single person in this community. Please don't assume people in my age bracket aren't willing or can't support the schools. Listen to your constituents. Make decisions that will support our schools and, as a result, raise the value of our homes. You have the power to make this town a place where people choose to live because they know their children will receive an excellent education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Yep.
My name is Thatcher Grimston. I live on Grant Road. I am a 5th grader at Parkman School. First, I would like to talk about how the budget is so low. There is 30 kids in each class and 90 in the 5th grade. That's 3 teachers. That's not enough. The behaviors in my class are unacceptable. One teacher cannot handle all 30 kids, and it's not the teacher's fault. One day, a student threw a chair in my class. It's very hard to learn in this environment, and this will not help students get ready for JFK. School has never been my favorite thing to do, but this year, I really did not like going to school. Mostly because it was always so loud and it was hard to get things done. I think a lot of my classmates feel the same way. I'm worried about math in JFK. I think it will be very complex and I might be behind. I'm hoping that you will all approve the next school budget so that 4th graders will have a better experience in 5th grade next year. I also hope that me and my classmates will have a better experience next year with smaller class sizes and more teachers. Thank you for letting me speak tonight, and when you vote, I hope you will think of me and all the kids in Enfield.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Ma'am?
That's a very tough act to follow. My name is Shannon Ventura. I live at 2336 Bigelow Commons in Enfield. I am a mom and have been a resident of Enfield since 2007. I currently have a student who is a junior at Enfield High, and my daughter is a graduate of Enfield High and has transitioned from Miss Nuntech over to Eastern. The first time I came here, I spoke about how important it was to find money in the budget because the support of our teachers was heartbreaking for me to hear the plea of help. In that time, I've almost completed the PLA program in our town that is sponsored by KITE, which is part of the Enfield Public Schools. Part of our project to graduate is to come up with a community effort and promote that, and we have decided to host a resource and wellness fair in Enfield. We are solution makers and problem solvers. We're not just people that like to address what the problem is, we like to come up with ideas as well. I knew about this meeting and was so excited to come tonight, but I've been so engaged in so many of the areas, I forgot and was sitting for a half an hour thinking, I'm supposed to do something, but I can't remember what it is. And thank goodness for Channel 3 that reminded me, because there were teachers out in front of the town hall that was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be tonight. So I needed some support. And thank goodness that there was a resource available that communicated that to me. And that's what we're trying to do with our project, is gather what our resources Enfield already has. We are a great town. We promote and provide for our veterans. We have done amazing things for our schools and our kids over the course of my experience. We've also done not great things, but we've done some great things too. And we're growing. So that's not a place to stay stagnant. That's a place to keep changing. Change is scary and it's not easy, but when it's worth it, it's worth the work. So we are collecting our resources currently for what we have to be accessible for people that may not know what questions to ask, to get the support that we have, to draw attention to where we can improve, and to see where our neighbors are filling in the gaps for us and what we can create in the process. This is the first time that we've done something like this, and my hope is that it will grow and continue for years to come. But I want to thank all of you for taking the time and commitment to serve our town. We may not all agree on everything, but we're not all supposed to be the same. But with our cores and values of our community, we can come together unpolitically and agree on some things to move forward for the benefit of all, from birth to 92. What was spoken about earlier about our aging community that's getting ready to go into retirement, I pulled demographics. Our resources for public information available on the website is not current and up to date, and the numbers just don't align with what we're supporting our communities for. Not just tax dollars funded, the ones that are funded, I would love to know a little bit more transparency on where those tax dollars are going towards the programs that we do support. I'd like to know those. Data makes sense to me, and if I can understand it on paper, I can explain it better to those that don't really have time to invest in the research. So more information, I can help others, and I can serve my community. I'm a veteran, as I had stated previously. I live to serve. My time in the service is over, but I'm still here and I have a lot to give. So again, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to speak tonight, and thank you for the time that you put into serving our community as well.
Thank you, Shannon. Anyone else? Ma'am?
These chairs are much too big for short people, just so you know. Good evening. My name is Linda Allegro. My address is 23 Vintner Place. Although I support the Board of Education's proposed budget of the 5.57%, I continue to be deeply concerned with the impact to our schools that was resulted in the devastating budget cuts from last year. With this budget year's proposal to hire 34 staff members, it will not resolve the problems of all the overcrowded classrooms. It won't bring back the lost courses at the high school or bring back Enfield High School's Career Center. This valuable program guided students to their career path, whether following that path to attend college or pursuing a trade or a skill. that would lead to a prosperous career. My husband and I are retired senior citizens, and we are willing to make the sacrifice to increase our taxes in order to restore the full education budget. For this is for our students, for our community, and definitely for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else? Pam?
Pam Townsend, 54 Kimberly Drive. Good evening, and hang on to your hat. I have 4 subjects to discuss in 5 minutes. I am here. I am the Patriot Award chairman. I am here to announce that we are seeking nominations for the Enfield Patriot Award. And here's a little history. During the American Revolution, the French notion of patriotism took root among colonists. Since that time, patriotism has come to mean many things to many Americans, from the selfless acts of emergency personnel at a fire or accident scene to the anonymous acts of charity at a food pantry or soup kitchen. It is a vital thread that binds and strengthens our community while defining us as a nation. This patriotic spirit caught the eye of Jason McLeland, owner of Pearl Street Barbershop. Every trip he took down Enfield Street or the street to his shop, he noticed American flags flying from homes or utility poles. He said, "It reminds us not to take our liberties for granted," adding, "We are surrounded by patriots in our everyday lives," and suggested that a local man or woman be recognized for their acts of patriotism. The Enfield Town Council followed up by forming the Enfield Patriot Award Review Committee to establish criteria for the award and review the nominations annually. Nominations are open to all men and women residing in Enfield over 15 years. They do not have to be a veteran. Application forms are available at the town hall and can also be printed from the town website or the Enfield 4th of July celebration website. Applications must be postmarked by June 6, 2025 to be considered. The winning nomination will be announced from the main stage at the Enfield 4th of July celebration on the town green. The winner's name will be displayed on a plaque in the lobby of the town hall with past winners. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that May is National Military Appreciation Month. It was chosen because there are several military appreciation dates: a Military Spouse Appreciation Day, Children of Fallen Patriots Day, Armed Forces Day, Memorial Day. It's also the month of the military caregiver and Gold Star Awareness Month. My next subject is concerning the charter review. Please add the current flag policy to our town charter. There was a recent article in the Hartford Courant about the city of Hartford possibly being sued because they refused to let someone fly a satanic flag on the city's flagpole. Establishing our current flag policy in our charter would protect our town from possible lawsuits for 10 years. I have been watching the budget meetings. I appreciate that you went line by line and had the directors justify why they need the funds. This helps you make an informed decision. You could have easily said, "We will accept the town manager's budget and increased our taxes." But you heard people say no increase. Some said they are okay to a tax increase. So what do? You make the hard decisions. Leadership is not about pleasing everyone. It's about doing what's best for everyone. And in Enfield's case, our future, our economic development, our education, and our public safety should be priority. So I ask you to use caution if you plan to reduce the BOE and/or public safety budget. Personally, I would not reduce either, but you have more insight into options on making them successful than I do. Enfield has a lot of development in its future. It will take time for us to feel the positive impact of all of that development. So it is important for our education system and public safety to be ready. Do I want a tax increase? No, but I'm realistic. I understand there are fixed costs like salaries, contracts, pensions, health insurance, state unfunded mandates, and et cetera. And these costs alone can cause an increase. So what do? Cut budgets or increase taxes? If you have to increase our tax, try to minimize the cost. If you decide to cut the BOE and/or public safety, please minimize what you cut. With reevaluation happening next year, the town budget will again be challenging, and you're trying to minimize that impact too. Some people can't afford one increase, but 2 years in a row may cause them to leave. We don't want to lose good neighbors we don't want to lose good people from our neighborhoods. You have some difficult decisions to make that impact everyone. I may not like the outcome, but Enfield is my home. I love it here because of the people, and it is okay if we don't agree. We love and argue just like family, and we are Enfield, Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Anyone else? Emily?
Thank you. Emily Hulovich, Cutter Lane. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Parents, educators, staff, students, and community members, your presence sends a powerful message. We stand united for our schools, for our children, and for the future of Enfield. Tomorrow, the town council, you guys, will discuss the school budget, and we all know what's at stake. This is more than numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about classrooms, about opportunity, about whether our children have what they need to learn, grow, and thrive. For 18 years, I've seen firsthand what happens when we invest in our schools, and I've also seen what happens when we don't. Our educators have gone above and beyond, teaching, mentoring, feeding, supporting, often with fewer resources than ever. We've done more with less because that's what dedication looks like. But let me be clear, we cannot keep asking our educators, our staff, and most of all, our students to sacrifice. Cuts to the school budget don't just impact programs and supplies, they impact people. You heard it from Thatcher himself. They mean larger class sizes. They mean fewer support staff. They mean the loss of opportunities that shape our children's lives, from the arts to technology to mental health resources. We believe in public education. We believe every child deserves a high-quality education, no matter their zip code. And we believe that the people who work in our schools, who show up day after day with passion and purpose, deserve respect and support, not uncertainty. So tonight, as the council meets, we're here to say, fully fund our schools, invest in our future, listen to the voices of this community. We are not asking for extravagance. We are asking for what is fair, what is just, what our children deserve. Let them hear us, let them see us, and let them remember a budget is a moral document. It shows what a community values. Let's make sure Enfield stands on the right side of history by standing up for public education, for our schools, and for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Anyone else? Ma'am?
Hi, Tricia Wright, 66 Oakwood Street. No technology tonight, just have a couple of clarification questions. I also watched the budget deliberations the 2 days. One of my concerns was about the voting, but he found the money, so I'm going to let that go. Because I feel every election is important, no matter if it's a presidential one or not. I certainly don't know all the costs that are attributed to any of that, but I do think every election is important. My second concern was I was very taken aback by the comments made about the Fermi turf field. As I've told you guys in the past, my youngest was of the first combined graduating class of Enfield High. I know firsthand that Fermi was still used to support all the high school sports, or most of the high school sports. I don't want to misspeak, most of the high school sports. I sillily thought that as the years went on, that things would come together and everyone would be able to play at Enfield High, and that is not the case. No matter how many times you guys have redone the fields, Fermi is still needed. So I thought that the fields would still be maintained, but it turns out the turf field has not been maintained. And according to the DPW gentleman, it's in pretty bad shape. So I am concerned about that. And I know that the last few years haven't been fun with the budget and stuff, but there's a revenue stream sitting there, right there, for other towns to come and use to host different sporting events or other teams to practice. So I'm not necessarily looking for you to add to the budget that we're already trying to take away and save money from, but I'm really concerned that with this new referendum coming up to modernize the schools, do we really need to add a line that says, and we would also please like you to maintain the new stuff? I really am shocked by that. So if we could please look into that. And then my other concern was about the fees. I know we had a fee added last year with our sewer bill, and now the possible of the privatization of the trash, which I've been told by some people will save me money, but then I'm going to have to pay for somebody else to come give me pick up my trash, or maybe go to the dump. So that's adding, even though it's not a tax increase, it's still adding to the cost of us living in the town. So fees or tax increases, it's still money coming out of our pockets. So I please would like you to remember that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish.
Good evening. It's on now, I hope. Yeah. My name's Phil Dumont. I'm on Celtic Court in Enfield. I've been pouring through the books. A little background. I've been a corporate budget manager, been in charge of financial reporting analysis in the corporate structure for over $1 billion corporation. Through the years, I've seen so many numbers, and I love them. And I'm about to give you an eye test with this sheet that you're going to see. It's very small. I used to put them on 11 by 17 sheets and call it the geriatric sheet, but then I lived into it. So, but what really I want to focus here, first of all, I want to thank all of you for all the time you put in, because all the people up here have spent more time together than they have with their family last month. They do an incredible job. They don't get a penny, but they really care about this town, so I salute all your efforts. I'm going to focus on a couple areas. You guys have done a great job looking at all the expenditures by department, and all the department heads and the employees are wonderful. Every person I've ever interacted with in this town is a professional, really impressive. When I'm looking here at revenue, so revenue, like given what we've got, we're going to go up on taxes because we got hit on the veterans exemption, the way they redo motor vehicles, and this is kind of like on the charter revision thing that I really wanted to look at actuals, because to me actuals is where reality is. And if you look at the history of actuals, of course you've got future things that change or something significant. But when I looked at these actuals, I've come up with $1,895,000 in additional revenue to put in this budget. And I'll explain them. They're highlighted in gray, mine's yellow, but I apologize for the smallness of the print. But the one of the first ones I look at is we have a budget of $1.3 million for prior year levies, which is, I believe, collecting taxes from prior year assessments and that. It's been averaging $2.4 million, and we have $1.3 million. So I'm suggesting we increase that by $700,000 because I think it's conservative. The next one is penalties and interest. That's been averaging over 4 years, $1.2 million, and we got 800 in here. I'm suggesting we add 300,000 to it. When I get down to fire district tax collections, the average is 377,000. However, the last year was 405, so I've increased that to I got a little slash in there, 378. And then when we get to interest on our investments, now I only took a 2-year average on that because, as you know, the Treasury rates really kicked up in the last 2 years. The prior years it was pretty low. So we're averaging the last 2 years $2.3 million. We have $1,150,000 in this budget. So I'm proposing that we increase it by $700,000. And the town rental of owned property, I'm looking at the last 2 years, which has been about $168,000. And we have one, let's see, we had 175, and I've suggested we raise it to 175. But you can see that negates part of the increase on any mill increases as well, if you use these assumptions for the income. Now, you guys have scrubbed the expense side, so I'm just getting to that one, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. I'm still playing with my computer. But the Board of Ed is an interesting one. Because of the cuts last year, I'm not at all happy with the class sizes, teacher to pupil. When I look at different towns, I look at the total staff, or teaching certified staff, and I look at the total population. A lot of times it's like 10 to 1, and then when we here we have class sizes of 25. I would like, hopefully, the superintendent maybe explain how that all works, because I don't truly understand it, and I mean, I really think that our numbers need to come down. But interestingly enough, and actually his presentation is one of the best I've seen ever, anywhere, in terms of giving us a view of what's going on in the Board of Ed. Of course, because I like numbers, I want more. But I just did a quick thing today, trying to find any organization. I recommend it, any organization that we have, is find out, everybody assumes they do a job well. But then when you're in competition with other people in open markets and you get beat, just like in athletics, you wonder why. And it always comes back to fundamentals. You go back to fundamentals. So I was trying to find a town we can benchmark that's like us. Are we better than them? We want to be the best, but are we better than them or not? And if they're better than us, why? So I got an interesting thing here I just found.
I'm sorry, Phil.
All right, I'll be back.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for the first time? Lucian.
Lucian Lefebvre, 54 Kimberly Drive, Chairman of Enfield Veterans Council. I'm here to announce that on May 25th at 1 o'clock, we're going to have a parade. Steps off at 1 o'clock from Enfield Street School, comes up, as usual, to the town green. And everybody knows my feeling, the ceremony is the most important part of that whole day. The Memorial Day parade is to honor the veterans that had cashed that blank check, had the blank check cashed that we write when we say up to and including our lives. That's who we honor on that day. Yes, there are picnics and barbecues afterwards, but it was the veterans that gave their lives that are remembered on that particular day. There's also a Memorial Day display at the main library. If anybody's interested in going down there to look at that. It's a small display, but it's out there for Memorial Day. I just want to address a little bit the unfunded mandate from the state about the 100% totally disabled veterans. It's not a large number of veterans. The VA doesn't hand out that 100% total disabled rating very easily. These people, as we say in the military, what they give us our disabilities for is for what they broke on us. And we broke it in service of this country, in defense of everybody in this country. And I realize it does impact our town taxes, and as it does in every town. But people need to understand it's not a large percentage of veterans that get that. Most of us veterans don't qualify for that 100%, 100% disabled rating. So I just wanted to clarify that so people don't think that just pretty much every veteran out there is going to get their taxes abated. It's that small group that are at that actual where they can't work. So Just wanted to clear that one up, and I will come back to address another subject on the second round.
You still got 2.5 minutes.
Okay, but I'm going to change who I am on this one. I'm Lucian LaFave, 54 Kimberly Drive, Enfield resident. I'm not here representing the Veterans Council. I'm representing me. And it's about the flag policy. I think the flag policy should be put into the town charter. When I got up and spoke about it the last time, it happened in Boston, $2 million lawsuit. Now, right down the road from us in the city of Hartford, they established a flag policy that included only government flags. They decided to change and put up one other flag, and now they're facing the possibility of a lawsuit because they went back on their own policy. My bottom line is I don't want to see the town of Enfield have a lawsuit. I put across, my feelings on what flags should be. There should only be the American flag, state flag, and the service flags. And like I said, the service flags, the veterans shed their blood to be able to have those flags on the flagpole. And they started doing that before this was the United States. We weren't even the United States when that started. So to leave it out of the charter and change it periodically is going to open the door for lawsuits. Like the Supreme Court said to Boston, you can let it go the way it is, have anybody in the world want to put their flag up, and it'll be chaotic. You can get a little pickier and try to pick and choose whose flags go up there, and you're going to face lawsuits for the First Amendment rights. By leaving it just to government flags, period, you eliminate any chance of a lawsuit. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucian. Anyone else for the first time? Christian.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Chris D'Antonio, 18 Montano Road. While I am a planning and zoning commissioner, I'm speaking from a personal capacity here today. As a transit user and advocate, speaking about my concern about our town's transit situation, specifically regarding our primary CT Transit bus stop in town, currently located in the mall parking lot. I think we all know, kind of have an idea of what's going on there. Public knowledge. I'm thinking from the best interest of the town in my heart, but I will be honest. I also have a personal stake here since I've been commuting daily from the mall by bus for about 7 years now, and I can tell you that there will be many other people who will be impacted by any change that happens, which change will happen. We all know. And for what it's worth, please don't assume that the cars you see parked are the only bus riders. I can assure you they're not. We're not all white-collar office workers simply looking to save money and avoid the stress of car traffic, which is reasonable by itself. But keep in mind the cost of car ownership averages over $12,000 a year. It's a huge burden for many. That's why big reason we have public transit. As has been made public by the mall's developers who are moving as swiftly as possible for demolition, they will not retain that park and ride. In the past and present, we've relied on what amounts to the goodwill of private property owners to provide this public service, and that goodwill is coming to an end, which, don't get me wrong, is absolutely their right. My concern is as we're looking towards the future, both an immediate future in need of a quick solution, as well as the long term, we're doing the same thing and just hoping for the best rather than stepping up as a town and offering a public solution to a public problem. And I'm going to present to you my idea, which is utilizing the recently expanded parking lots right here around Town Hall. Whether this is the best solution, I don't know, but I'm certainly sure it's not the worst solution. And frankly, it's better than nothing, which is all I've heard so far. If I'm putting on my transit planner and rider cap, I think it's frankly a solid idea to consider for the near term and possibly even for the long term. And I'll give you 6 reasons why. One, it's centrally located in town and more readily walkable to more people, which I know for a fact already some riders come to and from Thompsonville, including folks that walk and also transfer to the Magic Carpet local bus route, which if you make the transfer, which only happens once an hour, mind you, and then travels in the opposite direction for about a half hour before it gets back to Thompsonville. So keep in mind that getting around in town without a car is not easy, and we have a chance to possibly make it a little bit better. Number two, it's hardly any further away from the existing park and ride at the mall, so there'd be minimal changes to the bus routes and existing commutes, which in some cases include folks coming down from Massachusetts. Actually, I've met them. They'll come off the highway and take the CT Transit bus into Hartford. And if you didn't know already, there actually already is a CT Transit bus stop at Town Hall. But unfortunately, it's only used by 4 of the 15 daily Enfield routes. So it's usable, but you kind of got to have good timing to make it. Number 3, Town Hall parking lot is oversized for daily usage and has significant excess capacity. It was recently oversized, and we might as well make use of it. It's a town asset. To be sure, I visited in the early afternoon on a weekday and counted. The primary town hall lot, which where most employees will park, town employees, that section's pretty busy, filled with over 20 vehicles. Still has about 20 open spaces, but I wouldn't expect that to be the primary. The visitor lot, more on this side, had about 10 vehicles parked, if we're being generous, and about 40 open spaces, and that's excluding handicapped and EV chargers. And then finally, the biggest of all, with less than 10 cars parked, there are about 60 open spaces behind Enfield Express. And that's not counting the main 15, 20 parking spaces immediately adjacent to the building. All right, number 4. Park and ride usage isn't significant enough to create parking hazards and overflow. In the post-pandemic world, we're talking 20 to 40 vehicles, which will be parked during the day as their drivers commute by bus.
Can I ask you to come up a second
Sure,
time,
yeah, I'd be
please?
happy to. Thanks for your time.
Anyone else for the first time? Okay, Phil?
You have 3 this time, Phil.
This is 3. Oh, I think I'm okay. Phil Dumont, Celtic Court. So the last part I wanted to talk about was trying to look at, when we talk about comparing ourselves to others, how do we do? And so looking around at different towns, there's several of them, but I just hit on one that's kind of really close to us. It's South Windsor. Now, compare South Windsor to us. There's 2 different, I'm talking about their overall budget. Their proposed budget is 162 million, or 159 million. Ours is 162. On the Board of Ed side, when we take our 81,741 and add back with the town support of the 15,382, and that's $2024. I don't know what the budget piece would be, but it gets us to 97 million versus South Windsor's 100 million. Now, South Windsor has 400 students, more students than us, and they're also a growing town. Their population has grown probably by 10%, while ours has declined by 10 or 15% over the recent years. So, and they're unusual in the region. They're one of the only towns growing in student population. So when I look at this, we're actually spending more per student than they are. But what really shocks me is, and I spoke to the superintendent at the end of the budget presentation the other day, and I told him I have a niece that lives here, has 3 children, and her in-laws came over. I said, you're in the perfect spot. You're going to walk 1,000 feet, or your kids are going to walk 1,000 feet to that elementary school. They're going to walk 1,000 feet to the junior high school, and they won't get on a bus till they go to high school. Guess what? In South Windsor, in our budget, we spend $5.7 million on busing, and South Windsor spends $2.5 million with essentially the same population. How can that be? So that's my challenge is, my other part of that challenge is for every dollar we can save on busing, put it to the teacher-student ratio. Because I think there's money to be found there. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, Phil. Lucian, are you all set? Yeah. Okay. Christian?
Thanks. I'm just wrapping up. There's only 2 more numbers, or 3 more numbers. Chris D'Antonio, 18 Montano. So again, just to kind of get into why I think that we should be considering utilizing town property to support public transit. I mentioned about how we have pushing 100 open spaces on a daily basis in the town hall parking lots. From daily basis, again, I ride this every day, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. But post-pandemic, we're talking about 20 to 40 vehicles at most. I've never seen more than that parked during the day as their drivers commute by bus. So it's not going to overflow these lots. And long term, even optimistically, which I'd love to be, let's be real. It's unlikely to drastically increase when the Hartford Line train will undoubtedly siphon some bus riders. So something to consider is that we know there's certainly going to be a shift of some bus riders to train. Reason number 5, again of 6, the cost to the town should be minimal, if not virtually nothing. Again, we already own the lot. We've spent a lot of money paving this giant parking lot. Clearly, there's costs that we've built in. So what are we talking? Working with Department of Transportation, communication, signage would be a good idea. And then maybe slightly increased property insurance, maybe. I'm not an insurance guy. I work in insurance, but in IT. Wrong side. And number 6, maybe most importantly, having the main regional public bus stop on public property, which is perfectly normal, is simply a wise local and state collaboration that better insulates important public transit service in our town and state. This is a tragedy of the commons in progress, and I would be heartbroken and ashamed if we allow it to run its course rather than step up and act now, even if it needs to be altered in the future for a better long-term solution. So thanks again for your time, and I just ask you guys to consider our town assets, our public assets. What can we do instead of just waiting for private businesses to step up? Let's us step up ourselves and see what we can do to work with the Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll close public communication, and we'll move on to councilman communication. Councilman Santinella, anything?
Thank you. One thing through the mayor to the town manager's office. Old Depot Hill Road, I had a complaint from a constituent about some significant potholes there. I sent a message. I thought that they had been fixed, and I think there's just some miscommunication. I was there the other day. They're not fixed. Can I just ask somebody to please revisit that street? That would be great. And Lucian, I do have one thing to say about flags, and we talk about this every year at this time. If you have an American flag that is in your possession that's been tattered or torn, those are not supposed to be flown. I would encourage people to take them down. They can be folded. You can learn online how to fold them, and at Post 88, there is Post 80, I apologize, Post 80 on Enfield Street, right by the Dunkin' Donuts. There is a old mailbox where you can properly dispose of your flags, and the good folks will take care of those on Flag Day and properly disposing of them. So I just want to remind people about that as well. And
Thank you. Councilman Sakala?
Nothing formal, just thank you to the people who came out and spoke today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for paying attention. Please continue to pay attention. I will speak for just me that I do support the Board of Education's budget ask, and I always have, and I will continue to support that and argue for that to stay in the budget. Pay attention tomorrow night for budget deliberations that have to do with the Board of Education, too.
Thank you, Gina. Councilman Crisati?
Yes, good evening, everyone. To everybody that came out and spoke today, and even our fifth grader that came out, nice job up there tonight. And remember, we will be discussing the Board of Ed tomorrow. I am in total support with a lot of you that are sitting out in the audience. And I just want to mention, hey, Phil, good job. Good job, Phil. I just want to, your comparisons are very good, so thank you. They're eye-opening to some of us. And Chris D'Antonio, thank you for your comments in regard to the public transit. I think it's very important. Excellent point that you made, and I think we did hear you. Just didn't listen, we heard you. A couple of other things that I just want to mention. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I just wanted to give a shout out to all the teachers that make a difference in your child's life. I think it's pretty important. We know that all teachers go above and beyond their responsibilities, and I just want to recognize that and state that to everybody. Also, the month of May, this is important. This goes into Mental Health Awareness Month. And I consider this to be very important within our town. It's time to acknowledge the importance of people's well-being and seeking support when needed. This is a reminder not only to check in with other people, but check in with yourself. Check in with yourself, check in with others. Break that stigma to say that, oh, I'm okay. And if you're not okay, speak up about it. There's a lot of resources that are used here in town for support, and I think people need to utilize that a little more. Mr. Beeler is out in the audience. I want to recognize him for Local 1029 with their donations and their efforts that they put into the unified volleyball tournament. Even though I didn't have any ice cream, all the athletes totally enjoyed themselves, and it was a great event. And it was a great idea that you got everybody involved. You know, it was DPW Local 1029. Chief, your police department did a great job. Matter of fact, they won the tournament. They were beasts out there, okay? All right, second time in a row. Our fire departments did well. Our Enfield High School, Allied, and JFK did a fantastic job. It was a fun day, a great community event. And but Mr. Beeler, thank you for your efforts. A couple other things I just want to mention. And it's really a shout out to our Best Buddies program that we have here in town. If there's anybody that's out in the audience that's involved with Best Buddies, congratulations. You had that nice walk this past weekend over at Dunkin' Donuts Park, Yard Goat Stadium. And I know that JFK got recognized as, I think they finished in third place with the amount of money that they raised for this program, which was really cool. All right. Just one other quick thing. If you get a chance to go see the play Anastasia, Broadway musical by the Opera House Players, go see it. Next 2 weekends, they got shows that are going on. And I think I'll wait till tomorrow to really talk about things that happen within a classroom during our BOE budget. So I'll hang on to that. But
thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Councilman Mangini.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone that did come out and speak. Thank you all that formed a unified front outside to support education, to support the unions. It's extremely important that we stand up for what we believe is right. And like Councilman Crusati mentioned, we are going to be deliberating on the Board of Ed budget tomorrow. That's extremely important as well. But I do want to congratulate JFK, The Lion King. That was phenomenal. I sat through 3 performances, and each one was unique. That was the amazing part. But I have to give a lot of thanks to the students, the staff, and the teachers. The teachers and the administrators were out there working with these children, I believe, from January, and remarkable. It was, comparable to professional acting. And my granddaughter thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of it. And I just wanted to say thank you to all that put that together. It meant a whole lot, I know, to the kids. So that was a great performance, all 3 of them. And I do want to congratulate my students and all of the St. Jean Jugan 2nd grade First Holy Communion class. We made that on Saturday. That was a beautiful ceremony at Holy Family Church. And again, no rain, thank you. And the children were very well maintained, very well behaved, and they enjoyed themselves, and it was a very blessed event. So, congratulations to all the kids, to the teachers, and to their parents as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Councilman Nasuda?
Yes, I'd like to just thank everybody for coming out and speaking tonight and saying what's on your mind, and also thank you for recognizing that we have been working hard. We have been meeting for the last couple weeks. Even my car navigation knows when I leave my work office and it says, "Are you going to the town hall?" And so even that knows. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Councilman Russo.
Thank you. I also want to thank everyone for coming out and speak tonight. It's certainly not easy to be up there. Public speaking isn't everyone's favorite thing to do. And a little added pressure tonight. There was some additional TV cameras in the audience, so it makes it even harder. So appreciate everyone coming out. There's a lot of people that are tuned in, paying attention. So that's great. That's great for the town. It holds us accountable and also helps us make some of those tough decisions as well, listening to you. And Phil, I thought I've been spending many hours, long nights, trying to figure out the budget, all these numbers, and I believe you probably just gave me some extra work, which is fine. It's good, some aspects and some numbers I didn't consider, so I'll definitely take a look at the sheets you've printed out for us. I might have to blow up this one to your 11 by 17, but that's okay, and thank you for that. So have a great night, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Councilman Ungar.
I'd also like to thank everyone for coming out and sharing your opinions about everything. Thank you also for mentioning the flag policy. I'd like to thank Thatcher for coming out. You're so articulate and brave to come and speak before everybody. Maybe you have some politics or public speaking in your future. Nice job.
Thank you. Councilman Hendrickson.
Yeah, I just have one comment. Tricia, thank you for the comments on the Fermi turf field. It has been discussed up with our caucus, and I know other people. It's run its course, its life course. It's not a maintained thing right now. Something does have to be done with it. And I know Aaron has looked into a couple of grants that might also offset some of the costs on that, which we're trying to work on that too. Phil, thank you for the numbers. We've had enough, but I'm ready for some more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ludwig. All set. Okay, so a couple things. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's just like at home, just get passed by. I too want to say thank you. Thank you, Phil. I've been looking at revenue. I've actually been calling the mayor on it and saying, okay, I found this. So I appreciate you. I'm trying to find money instead of cutting. I'm trying to find money. So I'm definitely going to look over what you gave me. So thank you. Thank you to everyone for coming out. This is going to be a tough budget, and there's no two ways about it. If we don't do what's right this year, next year is going to be even worse. So we're hearing you. We get it. And I think it's great that we've been live and people can watch it. My phone's been ringing. My phone has had texts. I've gotten emails. People are watching, and we appreciate that. Tomorrow night, we will deliberate with the Board of Ed. Wednesday night, we'll be here for a public communication. We'll be able to go back and forth. That'll be your opportunity to come, to speak. Let us hear what you have to say. We need to hear it. We aren't going to make everybody happy. Somebody said that. You know, we are not going to make everybody happy. But we're going to do the best we can because we all live in this community and we all want what's best for this community. There's not one of us that's sitting up here that's saying we don't want good schools or we don't want good elderly housing, or there's not one of us saying that. We are all trying to find the balance. So I love when people come forward and give us ideas. Christian, great idea for the town hall. Again, Phil, looking at the numbers, I know it's not easy. Keep crunching them for us. We love it. So if anybody has a way, we want to hear it. That's what we're here for. And if you don't want to come up here and speak, like Councilman Russo said, give us a call, text us, email us, call us. We can do it that way too. But thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pisner. Okay, I have a few things. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who came out tonight. Also, I'd like to thank the people who sent us emails with their concerns about the entire budget. Tricia, the turf fields, Councilman Hendrickson did beat me to it, but we are trying to apply for a grant to replace the field. We understand the conditions it's in, and we're working on it. And if we can get, I don't want to say free money because it's all tax dollars, but it's from a bigger pocket from the state. That's what we're trying to do right now. And just for clarification, last year on the sewer, we did not impose a fee. We removed the flat fee and we adjusted the user fee, which shifted the burden to the larger apartment complexes so the residents of single-family homes aren't sharing in that burden. So, for clarification. And then the trash. Not once has anybody up here said, we support not paying for trash. What we're doing is certain things happened last year that brought trash to light, and it was from an employee within the town, which got the town looking at the trash budget. That's what brought all of this about. We have asked for an outside consulting firm to review our current trash operation to see if they could find some efficiencies, or would the town be better off to hire, at the town's expense, an outside company to collect it. But the condition is no employee losses. So we would do it through attrition. As people retire out, those people would be moved into those vacant positions. 2, it must include yard waste. And 3, the transfer station must remain open. Now, I know there's a lot of misinformation out there that is going around. And I wasn't going to read this, but I'm going to because you brought up the comment, and this shows this isn't us against the residents. This says very simple, brothers and sisters, the time is now. Show up and show out for your local. This is from the union president. The town's tyrannical mayor is putting the DPW and Board of Ed under siege. Now, what happened with the custodians? If we're wrong for trying to find inefficiencies and catching something like that going on and not taking action for you, the residents, not one of us belong up here. And I will do it again to protect every single tax dollar that we're in charge of. And the trash, I'm not going to get into the trash because they did complete their jobs. But there's more to it. And what gets me with this email from the union, it says, for your local. It doesn't say for the residents of Enfield. And if I have to choose between the local unions or the residents, I'll choose the residents every single time. And I stand behind that, and I will always stand behind that, because it's your money that fund all these projects and all these unions throughout town. And I think you count on us to oversee and look for problems or inefficiencies, or if we have to, a tax increase as a last resort. Next, for clarification, Wednesday's meeting is a community conversation. We used to have them every quarter throughout town. I know you had said public communication, and the difference is when you come up and sit and ask us a question, you can say, Councilman Santinella, I want to ask you about X, and he can respond to you. And we can have an open dialogue back and forth. And that's something that doesn't happen. And with all the miscommunication about trash, we're not going to get into the draft report that we are hounding the town for. And I'm starting to feel maybe it is getting dragged out to get beyond the budget. So we want that report more than the residents do, because we can't get the answers we're looking for before we close out the budget, and that's just not right. So we are fighting to get this report. You can ask about school modernization. Huge what's on the horizon for our Enfield students. The mall. Ask questions. It's a private development, but we'll answer anything we can. I know a lot of people are now challenging us, or not challenging us, but are very curious and worried about the recent purchase out at Bacon Road with the Amazon facility. But you can ask, and we will share whatever we know, and we can go back and forth. And that's something I think that's unique. Phil's ideas on the revenue, we've heard you. We've read your emails, and we did all discuss it. And we are close to where you are with the numbers, not as high, and we will discuss that tomorrow night. But I want to thank you, because you did come up with ideas and solutions. Now, I've reached out to somebody who we all know is on Facebook constantly criticizing every part of the budget, and she does a good job. Unfortunately, a lot of what she does, she doesn't have all the information, as Phil said. And without having all the information, it's hard just to put out information. I reached out to her today, and she refuses to call me back, and I can prove that. She sent back a text. She doesn't want to talk to me. So I'm trying. And if she has any ideas that we might have missed, because I don't claim to know it all, far from it. So I look at everybody else. Give us ideas. Help us. Every person up here would love to fully fund the entire budget, especially education. But there's got to be a balance. And I hope you see what we're doing on TV trying to do that. Magic Carpet, Christian. I am working on trying to get another permanent location for CT Transit. I don't want to do a temporary one because it is very inconvenient to have to keep moving things. But I hear you loud and clear. But speaking of public transportation, I came up with an idea, and I don't know if you guys will support it, but we have Magic Carpet, and we have several other modes of public transportation in town. And Steve Belinda has done a phenomenal job promoting the concert series. And I know Deputy Mayor Pisner spends a lot of time at our senior living facilities, at the nursing homes and stuff like that. What a great idea I think it would be if we used our public transportation and we invited people from these facilities to join us at the concert series, free of charge. We send the bus. Any person who's interested in coming gets on the bus. We can set up special seating for them and accommodations, but it gets them out. It makes them feel like there's more to life than sitting there. And I think it's a great idea. I would like to send it to committee if I have consensus. You know, I don't know what committee we would send it to. What committee would you send that to, Mike?
Would it be leisure?
I'd say leisure.
So if we have consensus just to talk about it,
You want to use the buses to get people. I think it's general government.
We're not meeting till July.
and the concert series start.
We have a special meeting.
Well, so can we have consensus to send it to committee?
Yes.
We'll figure out which committee.
absolutely.
All right, and I think that would be huge, huge for the people. Next is my question to the town manager. We're looking for an update on the town's audit. Here we are at budget time, and we don't have a completed budget for the town side. How do we know where we're off or we're not until this audit's completed? Kind of what Phil was talking about. And then I have to say, I was very disappointed to hear that we haven't even started the Board of Education's audit. And here we are at budget time, and we were looking for solutions to make sure this doesn't happen again, and that audit hasn't even been started. We paid for it. We asked for it almost a year ago. It's very disappointing, but I'd like an update on why that hasn't happened. I heard because the same company's working on the town audit. Well, maybe we hire another company then, because this is unacceptable. People think that we just dropped it and we don't want the audit. We want the audit, and we could have used it right now. I want to congratulate our police department. Again, they have a tough job, and they made an arrest on the hit and run incident that turned out to be fatal. And I'm not going to say I was happy to read it in the paper, because I wish it was never in the paper to begin with. But my compliments to all the officers that investigated this for months and months and months. Not that this does anything to help the family, but I hope it gives them a little bit of closure. Congratulations, Chief. Thank you. Tom Kensler, I think he left, but this is what we're talking about. I know Mike did it with IT, and by 8 o'clock the next morning, they found $100,000. Some people thought it was a pretty harsh cut, but they pulled it off. Tom Kensler, watching the budget meetings, seeing what we're up against, they found the $10,000. I mean, this is what we're asking people to do, because it just may save a position or add a position without having to raise taxes. And that's all I have. I apologize it was so long, but that's it. So we'll move on to the town manager's report and communications.
Thank you, Mayor, and the rest of the council. I will follow up with Finance Director John Wilcox on the status of the town audit and the Board of Ed audit. Also, the town manager was privy to looking into some of those ideas about having a magic carpet transport to the concert. And I talked to Karen Edelson today, and she says it can probably happen with minimal impact financially. She can move some drivers around and shift some routes for that one day a week, and perhaps make a stop at Mark Twain, and people who are interested can sign up for it. Depends on what genre of music they want. We have a diverse, from Louis Armstrong to yacht rock to country. Depending on what music they are interested in, they can sign up for it, and perhaps we can get this going, because we would love. There's nothing better than me seeing smiling faces at the end of every concert, and I'll be honest with you, that's one of the benefits of this job. So I want to get as many people there as we can, and I thank you for this idea, because I think it's going to be good. That's all I have for the town manager's report.
That's it. Town attorney's report?
There's no report tonight.
Thank you, Mark. And then we will move on to reports of special committees of the council. Councilman Nasuda.
Yeah, I just want to say that the joint facilities meeting has been changed to, I think, the 22nd, and instead of this week. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Moving on. Unfinished business, there is none this evening. New business, consent agenda, request for transfer of funds for the electronic printer grant of $31,422. This just puts digital ticket printers inside some of the cruisers. Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next is appointments of the town council. There are none this evening. C, resolution authorizing the town manager to sign a lease with the Collins Powder Hill Farm. Be it resolved that the town manager is empowered to enter into the attached lease agreement in the name and on behalf of the town of Fenfield with Collins Powder Hill Farm LLC. Date prepared 4/23/2025, prepared by Town Manager's Office.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Councilman Santinella.
So just an idea. What do they grow? This is corn?
I believe
right?
so.
I know we do this every year, right? So just a thought. I mean, it's $1,100. It's $1,100. I mean, you know, I would be fine if they wanted to just write a check to Loaves and Fishes or the food shelves in lieu of giving the town $1,100. Not that I mean, I would be in favor of one or the other as an option for this. But if that's going to make things too complicated, I'm fine with this. It was an idea because it's a nominal amount, and
It
so
is, but who do we pick to give it to? That's the problem.
He could pick. He could pick. Okay,
But
never mind. We'll take
I
the town. Will
truly
take
think-
the $1,100.
What
That's
if
fine.
other farmers are interested in the land? And I think with all the solar fields going on in town, we should really consider the highest and best use for land in the community that could pay, like we rent, or we have the radio towers at the transfer station. There's a ton of land at the transfer station. Why don't we start trying to control where they put these solar panel farms up so they don't end up in residential neighborhoods? So it's just something I think that, you know, maybe general government can be looking at in the future. That's why I'm not willing to change this, because they've had it for years and years, but I'm not going to pick and choose what donation they give it to when it's taxpayer money, so, because it's taxpayer land. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crissati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ledwick.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Thank you. Next is a resolution accepting a donation of a flowering dogwood tree from the Hastings family. And I'm going to read this. The Hastings family of Enfield, Connecticut, wishes to donate one flowering dogwood tree to the town of Enfield. The Enfield Senior Center has worked with the family to oversee the donation process. The tree will be planted in honor of their mother, Mary Hastings, a longtime member of the Enfield Senior Center and a lifelong resident of Enfield, Connecticut. The flowering dogwood tree will be placed adjacent to the flowering garden located near the walk trail at the Enfield Senior Center. Connecticut General Statute 7-148C3A permits the town to accept gifts of personal property for municipal purposes. There is no budget impact. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town council accepts the donation of one flowering dogwood tree from the Hastings family. Date prepared 4/28/2025, prepared by the town manager's office.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Are there any comments?
Ken, did you want to read the letter that gives the date of the dedication? Mr. Mayor.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Bob. I didn't even see that. I didn't flip the page. Dear Mary, this letter is to request the planting of a flowering dogwood tree at the site of the Senior Center in Enfield, Connecticut, in honor of Mary Hastings, a longtime member of the Senior Center, as well as a lifetime citizen of Enfield, Connecticut. We would like to dedicate the tree in the afternoon of June 27th, 2025. Please let us know what your procedures are, who picks up the tree, who plants the tree, etc. We are looking forward to this and hearing back from you. Kind regards, Nancy Hastings. Thank you, Bob. I didn't see that. I will just say I appreciate them donating the tree, but somebody such as their mom, Mary, I think the town should be buying the tree and donating it for all her years of charity towards the town and working with the senior center and stuff like that. So I appreciate what she's doing, and, you know, I definitely support this. So roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crissati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ledwick.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Next is a resolution authorizing the Senior Volunteer Tax Program for fiscal year 2027. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council reestablishes the Senior Volunteer Tax Program, providing up to a $400 tax credit for taxes due July 1st, 2026 for senior citizens who meet the parameters of the program. Be it further resolved, the program costs will be capped at $100,000, and if the cost exceeds $100,000, the tax credit amount will be reduced on a pro-rata basis so that the total cost does not exceed the cap. Date prepared 4/29/2025, prepared by John A. Wilcox.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Hendrickson.
Yeah, I get a lot of questions about this, and when I first saw the revisions, or kind of revisions, I didn't think it went far enough, and there's some problems I had with it. I'm told that the committee did not want to change or adjust these conditions. Is that correct?
The only conditions that were going to be changed were they went from 50 to 75 hours.
All right, so there's still no financials on here. So anybody, it doesn't help people that just need a $400 tax credit?
Well, there's all the parameters on the next page. It explains all the different things. And one of the things that was, brought to everybody's attention was property held in trust, life estates, partial interest shall fall under the same guidelines pursuant to Section 12-170AA. And once again, all trust agreements reviewed on an individual basis by the town attorney if they qualify. That was a point that the committee made sure that was because that was brought up, and that was a point of contention.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's going to be reviewed by the town attorney. They upped the 75 hours. You got to be 65 or older, and another thing that's different is it's being capped at 100,000. So, from last year we had to take additional funds out so that we could take care of everybody that met the qualifications. So that means you're going to get a credit up to 400. So if there's X amount of people and it goes over that, they're not going to be getting the $400. It'll be less than that.
Right. My understanding was we had to up it to get to 80,000. So now it didn't hit 100,000 last year, I don't believe. I know we bumped it up, but anyway, and then even the organizations that can qualify for volunteer hours, I have questions about. I thought that, I kind of brought it up to my caucus. I thought it went to the committee for some possible changes, and I'm told there was no bend on any of the changes. So that's my problem with it at this point. Okay. So.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
So I've had a few conversations. I think this should have a financial component. Volunteering, you volunteer because you choose to volunteer. And I did have a conversation when they put in a religious organization. I don't think volunteering for your church, that is your spiritual belief that you volunteer for your church. So I had a lot of questions about this. I do. I would rather see this money go into the circuit breaker and help people who truly need the help to stay in their home. I fit in this category. I'm over 65 and I volunteer, not just for the town, but for my church and for the community. I don't feel that this program has enough definitive guidelines. I want to see this to help people who need to stay in their home. I've had people come up to me at Mark Twain and say, I don't own a house. I live in this apartment, but I have a car. Well, we're not giving you a tax break on your car. And these are people who truly need the help. Our residents that are living at Mark Twain are on a very, very limited income, as they are when they're at Enfield Terrace or at Windsor Court. There's no help for them. I've had residents come up to me and say, I can't physically volunteer. If I could, I would. So who's going to help me stay in my house? So I just don't see this program as having enough merit to help a large amount of people that truly need it. So I'm not going to support it.
I most definitely am going to support this resolution, and I think the program is very good. And it's not so much to keep people in their homes or, to help them in that aspect. What it is really is to help those that are volunteering, and in the event that they could use the couple $100 that they're getting, so be it. They're volunteering. We are all up here volunteering, yes, but we are doing this just because we are choosing to help our community. And these individuals that are going to be recipients are going to just be compensated a small amount. But the way it's designed, it's not going to exceed the $100,000, and town attorney is going to review case by case. So I don't see where there's an issue with it. I just think that it's a good program, gives good incentive to people that may choose to volunteer to some degree.
Through the mayor to our assistant town manager, Steve, I've been asked, can we get details on the circuit breaker program where we do fund roughly $700,000 to $750,000, where we do help people stay in their homes. We do help people with their bills. I know there's criteria. I mean, I think to remind people, and again, we did this when the state cut its funding and they didn't cut the guidelines. Yeah, I mean, I would love to be a little more, if we could since we fund it fully, can we get a legal opinion? Can we actually create some of our own guidelines, to maybe make it a little more available to people? Because again, we're already funding that. And we did it 7 years ago. We've done it fully when the state cut the budget and cut their portion from us. And again, look, I'm all for helping people. I made an amendment last time we came. It's not here. I'm sorry, look, I'm not mincing words. This turned more, it's really helping people who, I'm sorry, there's a lot of people who got this credit last time who are volunteering on commissions, and you shouldn't be getting a credit to volunteer, in my opinion, in a commission. There should be income levels. $100,000, I'm sorry, is way too much. It's, especially we're already funding close to $700,000 in another program that, again, does help people stay in their homes. And that's the point. Again, I'm sorry. Look, everyone, in my opinion, who works for a living is on a tight budget in their own house. I completely appreciate people who volunteer, and you should. But the purpose of when we discuss this to what the program is now is two different things. And I'm sorry, this is not what we talked about 3 years ago when we did this. That shouldn't be $100,000, A, and B, I just think we were a little too generous giving it out to people who sit on commissions or sit on some lake associations who put their name in for this credit. Sorry, that's not the point of this. This was to help people who needed money, who volunteer their time. And I've always said this we should include seniors who have to work to actually pay their taxes and to stay in their home, because there's many of those now, seniors who actually have to work to be able to stay in their home. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of programs to help them. So, I mean, if this stays the way it is, I got to be honest, I'm voting it down. So, I want to be straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I'm just going to say it's a duplicated program. We have the circuit breaker. Yes, Cindy, I agree. It's a great program. But anytime you give away somebody else's money, you feel good about it. The seniors who have come up and spoke about they're okay with a tax increase. Okay, well, this is a $400 decrease, not an increase. So it could be cost neutral to them. And they've said they can afford it. Well, not all seniors can. And what about the younger families who are struggling? You know, Councilman Ludwig kind of took it from me. The Circuit Breaker program is a program that has restrictions on it that I think that's what our goal is. Our goal is to help those people who need the help. And I'm sorry, but I just don't understand how raising your taxes, the town manager's estimated budget of $700 to $750 a year to fund programs like this to give you $400 back makes any sense. I would think we stop doing stuff like this and everybody gets the tax break across the board, or minimizes the tax increase that we may be forced to do because of stuff like this. So I think our seniors are the backbone of this community. They are. And I think most of them would agree that they don't need the money if they're in that situation, and give it to people who do, which we currently do with the circuit breaker, which is $750,000. So we had asked to put in restrictions, income limits and stuff like that to kind of follow the circuit breaker program. So if the circuit breaker program runs short this year, I'd be okay transferring this $100,000 to it under the same guidelines, but not just a free-for-all where anybody can just go in, put some hours in, and get this money with no criteria. So I also will not be supporting this evening. Anyone else?
Yep.
Councilman Crissati.
Yep. It's been pretty obvious over the past few years that a majority of you do not like this particular program. This program was first instituted to reward seniors that volunteered in town. All right, we didn't put parameters on income. Many of you have gone through that list and you've pinpointed certain people. They didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve it. There's a couple of us that have been on this board for a few years now, and once again, when you have the majority of people that are on this committee that put their time and effort into this particular program, now you're going to just take it right away. Plus, I'd like to get the exact figure what the circuit breaker funds were, because I thought it was in the $300,000 range. I don't know where we came up with $750,000. I think that figure's way off. So, Steve, if we can get the exact figure with the circuit breaker. This volunteer tax credit program has nothing to do with the circuit breaker program. There's also people that could be on this circuit breaker program, all right, that could get additional funds if they chose to. There's income levels that have to do with it. And plus, there's also veterans tax exemption on this. This is a separate program that was rewarding people that volunteer in the community in a nonprofit organization. And I can bet my bottom dollar that it's going to get shot down here again tonight, which will be another blow to another program being eliminated, along with the minor senior home repair, and another blow to the Commission on Aging, period.
All set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I'm not exactly sure what's in circuit breaker, but I know we have not exceeded it. And so, go ahead, Mike.
To the mayor, I mean, John's in the audience. A few years ago, the town's portion was roughly $350,000. The state matched it 1-to-1. The state cut their funding to zero, so we either had to pick up the other approximate $300,000, or we didn't. And I think, John, it's averaged roughly $700,000 over the last 7 years. Maybe not, I don't have the exact numbers. I know roughly it helps 600 or so on average families in town. So you can certainly clarify if I'm wrong.
You
John,
can
do you
come
wanna
up,
come up?
John, if you want. I mean, let's clarify it now. He's here.
It's 350, yeah.
Go ahead, John.
The Senior and Disabled Tax Relief Program is a state mandated program that used to be funded by the state. They have stopped appropriating funds for it, and so the town is left to pick up the pieces, left to pick up the funding for the program. It has been running about $350,000 plus the local match, so that makes it about $700,000. The numbers may be skewed a little bit more. Due to COVID, there were some temporary suspension of application processes, things like that. So I'm not sure exactly what the amount. It does fluctuate every year, and I will get the exact amounts from the assessor's office. They're getting the applications in now. They have until I believe it's May 15th to submit applications for the program. So I don't have the full total for the coming year, but that I will get at least an update on how much we have so far and how much it was last year.
All set. Do you know, John, have we exceeded the amount of money at any year?
No, I don't believe we've exceeded, and the actual amount of the credits issued have not issued the amount that I've reserved in any year, I don't believe.
Okay. So, thank you, John. So at this point, any of these people who are applying for this can also apply for circuit breaker if they qualify with the income. So they're not losing anything. They just need to go back to the original place where it started instead of duplicating it. Councilman Ungary.
I just want to say last time, not this current council, but the way this was presented is that the appeal was to get all these volunteer hours in. If you go 50 hours by 100 applicants, that's 5,000 hours for the town. So I think it was originally based on all these hours that were going to be donated and all these progress and all these accomplishments that were going to be done that the town would benefit. But I'm thinking the way the criteria is all listed here, that I don't want to support it the way it is, but perhaps somebody can relook at it and revamp how everything is worded so that everybody's happy with it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Like I said, if circuit breaker starts getting close to maxing out, I would ask that John come back and ask us, because I'd have no problem transferring this 100,000 into it so the people who really need the credits are eligible to get it. So roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
Against.
Councilor Russo.
Against.
Councilor Santinella.
For.
Councilor Ungary.
Against.
Councilor Sakala.
For.
Councilor Crisati.
For.
Councilor Hendrickson.
Against.
Councilor Ludwig.
Against.
Councilor Mangini.
For.
Councilor Nasuda.
Against.
Mayor Nelson.
Against.
4 members in favor, 7 against.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, John. Next is a resolution authorizing the Commission on Aging to distribute funds donated to the town from the Senior Minor Home Repair Program of $10,356.20. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council hereby authorizes the Commission on Aging to distribute the funds that were donated to the town through the Senior Minor Home Repair Program. Date prepared 4/29/2025, prepared by John A. Wilcox.
So moved.
Thank you. Did they give us a list of where they're donated?
I just have them written down.
Do you? You want to share 'em?
Yeah.
Is that a definite list?
Yeah, no, it is. So this program is the money that was donated, or this money is money that was donated to this program from residents who use the senior minor repair. So the Commission on Aging decided that what they would do is split the money, and they will be doing senior meals. They will pick up the senior meals at the senior center on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That was cut, and that was cut by the federal. That's not a town cut by any means. And then they're going to do the rest of the money for the grandparents without grandparents raising grandchildren for the kids' camp for tuitions. So they're both two very good causes that they decided for it to go to.
Right. Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Pisner. Again, this is a program that the town of Enfield was unable to get liability insurance for the volunteers that were doing the work, and the insurance company actually said they would drop the town if we took this on. So we had no choice to dissolve this. It was absolutely a phenomenal program and benefited a lot of seniors. And I believe Councilman Santinella spent a lot of time trying to get other organizations to pick this up, and we would help donate and offset the cost for that. But I believe they ran into the same problem, and that is nobody wanted to insure them. So, seeing no more questions, roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Next is a resolution to abate property taxes on 5 Spear Avenue. Be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council hereby abates the real estate tax and interest on 5 Spear Avenue. Date prepared 4/30/2025, prepared by John A. Wilcox.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Councilman Ludwig.
So this came for the General Governments Committee, Councilor Sakala, Councilor Hendrickson, and again, this was a medical situation where one of the spouse who was paying the bills, unfortunately, had a medical issue, and they fell behind. The spouse called the town, and again, obviously very upset, and kind of explained the situation. And so this is a one-time abatement, basically caused by one of the spouse's unfortunately deteriorating health, and they've been paid up in taxes. We explained this is a one-time deal. If it happens again, unfortunately, we won't look to abate it. But we felt, based on the circumstances of the situation with within the home, this was a warranted forgiveness. Show some grace and forgive the $2,400.
And was General Governance?
I'm sorry, unanimously in favor of sending it to the council for approval.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, like Blight, I know Councilman Santinella and myself come to you guys, and unless you're sitting in the room and you hear, it's tough to make a decision from up here. So I trust the committee, and I trust their decision. I mean, I'm not in favor of giving away tax money, but I wasn't there to hear the story, and I don't think we should be discussing personal issues.
Yep.
No, absolutely. So I will be supporting this tonight. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Thank you, Sheila. Next is a resolution to abate motor vehicle taxes. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council hereby abates the motor vehicle tax and interest due on grand list years 2020 to 2022 for...
There's 2 different numbers.
No, the name Pierre Carly DeSeller
Yeah.
to the amount of $750. Date prepared 4/30/2025, prepared by John A. Wilcox.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Councilman Ludwig?
Again, this came for the General Governments Committee, and again, the committee decided to give some grace here. Again, we're not forgiving the in total tax. We met the owner halfway, because again, there's a little culpability on both sides, and I think there were some issues, honestly, how DMV handled some of this, and then, so again, very robust discussion. We went back and forth. The good news is, on the owner's side, she took care of what she needed to take care of, so we decided it was worth going half, which is what you see here. So again, we're not forgiving the full thing, and again, it was unanimous for the 3-0 to send it to the council, forgiving half the taxes. And again, I just want to say, this is exactly how, in my opinion, government's supposed to work. Finance has to follow state statute, and they do. And then so depending on what your situation is, no matter what it be, they're the initial gatekeeper. They have to kind of deal with a lot of the, again, when someone's upset. And again, we understand when, you get a bill and it says you owe taxes or whatever, completely get it. So, I mean, but they have to follow statutes, so then they make a recommendation to general governance, and then we hear it, and we decide whether we want to bring it to the full council or not. So again, it does give taxpayers another check and balance, which is what everyone should get in a free form of government. So I have to say, I think this works. We have a very robust discussion as a group. And I'll say, I don't want to speak for them, but Councilor Sakala and Councilor Henriksen asked some extremely probing questions in the meeting, and I'll say that. They did a very good job. And so I just want to, sort of like when you guys bring blight, we go through the same process in general governance. And so we're just not falling for everyone's story. I mean, a lot of research was done by staff. John spent a ton of time on this, and Becca did as well, and his staff. And then again, I think the committee, it was one of our better meetings we had. I'll just speak for that. And but I don't know if Councilor Sakala or Henriksen want to add anything. But again, we're just forgiving half. There was some culpability, I think, on both sides. So we felt half was the right decision.
Thank you. Good explanation. Gina, you want to add anything?
I think he summed it up. I think there was probably some blame, a little bit on the town, a little bit on the DMV, a little bit on the owners, and a little bit on the mail system. M-A-I-L, not M-A-L-E. M-A-I-L. And just to follow up on what Mike was saying, when these come to general government, if it's unanimous, we don't bring them all here if the answer is no at general government. So I don't want people to think that everybody who comes gets a break or a tax abatement. They don't. This was a little bit of a different scenario. This wasn't a health issue, so the outcome was very different than the one we just did.
So blight is the same way. If we don't agree, it doesn't move forward. So the only question I have, is this the same person as the last one?
No.
No.
Two separate, yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
Abstain.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
10 members in favor, none against, and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Next is a resolution to approve a 4-year collective bargaining agreement with the Enfield Police Employees Association, the police union. So there is a budget impact to this, and I'm going to read it. The contract calls for a 1-year wage increase of 3% to take effect on June 30th, 2025, with no retroactive wage increase for almost the entire current year. And then wage increases of 3% on July 1st, 2025, July 1st, 2026, and July 1st, 2027. The estimated net increase to the budget over the 4-year period is $1,116,499, or net 2.06% annually when factoring in employee health insurance and employee contributions. Be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby approve the 4-year collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Enfield and the Enfield Police Employees Association dated July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2028. Date prepared 4/30/2025, prepared by Stephen V. Belinda, Esquire, Assistant Town Manager.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Remind me to ask what V for Stephen's middle name is.
Vincent.
I was going to say Victor.
So I would like to thank the police union for working with us. It did get a little contentious at times, but we worked through it. We came up with an agreement that both sides can accept and move forward with. And for that, I want to thank all the sworn officers for working with us. And this shows that we can work together. So, questions? Councilman Russo.
I just want to say, Chief, I think we know the last several years have been tough for law enforcement as far as attracting new candidates, qualified candidates, also retaining the police officers we have. We're seeing this new generation of police officers are very transient. They'll chase money, they'll chase contracts. They think the grass is greener someplace else. A lot of them find out the hard way, and they always want to come back. I think this is a fair contract. I appreciate everyone working together on this. Between the town and the union, we staved off arbitration. Arbitration would have been a very lengthy and costly process for both sides, and I thank the union members for voting on this contract. I think they did it in overwhelming fashion, and this is good for the town. And I think this contract here is fair, and it will also help with retention and recruitment, knowing that we're pretty much a fully staffed police department in Connecticut, and that's amazing. That's kind of unheard of if people understand or know the profession. You go nationwide or within Connecticut, police chiefs and police departments are struggling to find candidates. They continuously have open processes, trying to find police officers. They'll gain 2 or 3 and they'll lose 5 or 6. And it's just a never-ending battle, at least the last 5 years. So great job, Chief. This contract, I think, is certainly going to help, and we appreciate the police officers here in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Russo. Councilman Ludwig.
Thank you. So through the mayor to the assistant town manager, I just want to make sure I'm clear on something. On bullet 4, it says union agrees 4-year contract, 3% increase, forego the first year except day 1 to the proceeds of $300,000 in savings. To use those savings for increasing the retiree health insurance from 35 to 50. So that basically means any savings we get is getting to be offset by taking on more of their health.
The increase is not that much, but it's for the life of the contract, the 4 years. So that increase would take effect July 1, 2025. So in effect, by them foregoing their first year of retro pay, they're paying in full almost the entire benefits that they were seeking for the remainder of the contract.
Right, but again, this is a big give up by the town. We're going from 35 to 50% coverage of retiree health care is a big give up by the town, and one that I was not in favor of. The other issue I have was brought up with the drop plan. Can you explain the language that's in red on page 34? Again, I was clear I didn't want to have to enrich the drop plan at all.
Well, just for the folks at home, the drop plan is a deferred retirement.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, when an employee is retirement eligible, they can leave out the door, and we have to scramble and find a new employee that's green that's going to come in. We want to postpone that retirement if we can and keep that valued employee with the years of experience and service in town 1 year longer, 2 year longer, 3 year longer. That helps us, and that helps us plan when they leave. We have testing going on for detectives because we know some detectives are retiring now. That gives us advance notice on how to prepare for succession planning. So
How much does it cost the town, though? The cost to it?
the cost for the town is going to be borne out 3 ways. They're foregoing their retro for the first year. They're increasing their pension contribution for the current employees by 20.25%, and the new hires on July 1 are going to pay 1 full % more into the pension. So they're going to fund this benefit. And those are the parameters you guys gave me when I were in an executive session, that you stay within these parameters and we'll negotiate. And kudos to the union president. We kept talking, and we kept talking as painful as it was sometimes.
I was clear on the health care, though. I mean, this is a pretty big, and I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
Understood.
You know, and I'm sorry, Chief. Look, this one, and then the language in. I'm sorry. And then I get the whole. I don't want to minimize, because I appreciate everything the police do in this town. I support them, but again, they negotiate in a way where retro comes into how they negotiate. So the whole retro discussion is really how they negotiate their contracts. I mean, they sort of choose to do it that way. And we've done this, for the last 2 or 3 contracts, that's sort of how they've done it. So, and I don't understand, except for one day. Can you explain that?
Well, actually, Councilor Ludwig, that was my proposal to them. They wanted this benefit. I said, you're going to have to fund it. And I said, we're going to owe you a lot of retro for base wages and for overtime. If you want to forego that retro, that'll help buy the benefit you're seeking. So that was my idea, in fairness. And they thought about it. At first, they were saying no way, but then they thought about it. And cooler heads prevailed. We came up with a collaborative, a compromise, basically. And that's how we ended up with it. But retro was something they would have been given in arbitration, so I knew I couldn't negotiate them not getting it.
Thank
All
you.
set, Mike?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Pisner. 4. Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
For.
Counselor Hendrickson.
For.
Counselor Ludwig.
Against.
Counselor Mangini.
For.
Counselor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
10 members in favor, 1 against.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. You can stay there because you're going to be coming up shortly anyway. So, next is a resolution to appropriate funds to purchase 4 Lucas CPR devices. Be it resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made from Opioid Settlement Fund revenue $54,528 to Opioid Settlement Fund EMS equipment, new equipment, $54,528. Date prepared 5/1/2025. Prepared by John A. Wilcox.
Second.
Okay, the motion's made and seconded. I personally would like to thank Councilman Ludwig because going through the budget, he thought out of the box on this one. The town received some opioid settlement funds that were very restricted on what we could use these funds for. In the current budget, EMS was requesting 2 of these newer Lucas machines that could save one of our lives someday. And Mike came up with the great idea of seeing if we could use these opioid funds because we know the epidemic that's going on in our country right now, and we know these machines could possibly save a life of somebody who's ODing. So thank you, Mike. I think this is what it takes, and great job. Good thinking out of the box. Anybody else? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Counselor Russo.
4.
Counselor Santinella.
4.
Counselor Ungary.
4.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Hendrickson.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Mangini.
4.
Counselor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Okay, next is a resolution to update the Enfield Police Department non-town outside services overtime rate.
Can we have a motion to waive the reading on this?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. So, all in favor of waiving the reading?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, therefore, be it resolved. Is that where you? Don't read any of it? Okay.
You can ask Chief to explain that.
Questions?
Just background.
Councilman Sakala.
So this came up at budget deliberations. I'm just going to reiterate that I don't necessarily have the problem with us looking at upping this rate. I have a problem with kind of the process that we did it. I really think this should have been referred to a subcommittee. I am worried that we are jumping the gun, so to speak, at this, and that it was rushed. It was posed to you, and I'm not doubting your abilities, but you had 36 hours or so to turn this around. I'm worried that some of these numbers are really going to cost us out of some of the organizations and companies that would hire the department police officers to do some of this work and for these side jobs. So I'm worried I'm just worried that we're rushing this. It should go through subcommittee so they can discuss it and you have sort of like a robust conversation and look at some other data. I'm worried that we're doing this way and I can't support it being rushed through just like this.
Thank you. Councilman
Thank you.
Santinella.
Thanks, Chief. So just one of the things that was at issue here was the administrative rate, right? We talked about
Correct.
So the rate has been since 1980 $1.50 per hour, and we haven't changed it since then.
Correct.
Right. So, okay, I can get why we're looking at that number. And so we've gone from $1.50 per hour to $20 per hour. Is that correct?
No. So there was a $20 per hour fee that was charged for the vehicle.
Okay.
And that may have been somewhat inconsistently applied.
So if we took the 20 plus the 150, the administrative overall fee beyond what the officer was getting paid to the town was $21.50 per hour. So what's before you, under the direction that was provided, raises that from $21.50 to an all-encompassing $30, and it doesn't have the vehicle fee as a standalone expense any longer.
Got it. So it's an additional $9 an hour.
An additional $8.50,
Got it.
if my math is correct. Yes, sir.
Close enough.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. That's fine.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All set, John? So I mean, Jeff Russo, Councilman Russo. Okay. Councilman Russo brought this to our attention, and I don't know anybody on the planet that hasn't received a raise since 1980. I don't. And, you know, people are like, oh, this is a $30 an hour increase. It's not, because we're including the car fee, which on every job I see them, the car is there. So it's just all-inclusive. It doesn't put us at the top of the scale in our region. I'll call it region because of the towns you gave us. It puts us, you know, middle of the road, but we're not at the bottom anymore. We have one of the highest-ranking police officers and departments in the state, and it's not free. It costs money to maintain a quality department like this. So we're just doing something that hasn't been done in 45 years. So, Councilman Russo, again, this was a good catch on you. Chief, I really appreciate you dropping whatever you were doing and getting us the information the next day. But this is how, you know, we find savings or increased revenues, as Phil Dumont was saying, to help offset our expenditures. Councilman Mangini.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
For providing us with all the information. Just for clarity, and again, to Mayor Nelson's point, obviously 1980, 2025, that's a good period of time. What, not the exact dollars, but ballpark, is the difference in the rate from then till now per hour, not counting the administrative fee?
So, yeah, the change has been exclusively whatever raises 2 subject areas ago the EPEA has enjoyed for the officers over the course of history, as the $150 and the $20 per hour, and the $20 per hour is about 2007, 2008. The variable would only have ever been the rate of pay that the officer was receiving. So the number has crept up incrementally since 1980, since 1960, since whenever. But what you're adjusting tonight are what we could think of collectively as those administrative fees. The car, the 150 rolled together into one subject area and made $30 an hour.
Are you comfortable with this?
I am.
Okay. And I have to agree with Councilor Sakala that perhaps this should have been, presented not directly at budget time where we have to make a quick decision. I have to agree. But I will support this because I trust you.
Thank you.
Wholeheartedly. And I also, Mayor Nelson made a very good point that 1980, 2025, that's a long time. I have to agree. So thank you for your hard work and your explanation.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Ludwig.
Just want to make, just can you clarify just a key point? We're not impacting the officers' pay at all here.
Correct. That is
I
correct.
just want that point to be clear.
That is
All
correct.
we're doing until, the mayor said is we're actually getting some administrative charge. They're still going to make whatever the sergeant, whatever the rate is, that has no, I want that to be clear to people.
That is
Agree or
correct.
disagree? I'm sorry.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Councilman Russo.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. I appreciate all the work
Yes, sir.
you and your staff did. I know it was extensive. I think you reached out to, I don't know how many towns. It was a lot in a short period of time, and you turned around at some of the departments and agencies kind of run it differently based on their numbers and how to calculate it and how to make it equivalent. So and compare and contrast, I know that was kind of difficult. So thank you for that. I'd like to think that, the town, we kind of left a little bit of money on the table in the past, but I'm glad we corrected it moving forward. I hope the contractors understand we're looking just for a fair rate. We're really not looking to make a profit, a lot of revenue. We're just trying to recoup some of the administrative costs and cost involved with assigning private duty work and, maintaining traffic flow with construction sites and also private duty jobs. We also have, it's just not construction, we have private duty jobs like Costco, right? I don't know if Target hires, but we have private events, a lot of different areas in which they hire that are non-construction as well. And this is also going to apply to that, correct?
Correct. There are really 4 situations in a chart, and this is the reason the resolution was so long. There's 4 rather complex areas in an overtime chart within the EPEA contract. One of them, the town of Enfield rate, is unaffected by this, and that was your desire, and I think appropriate, because otherwise all you're doing is charging the town more to make the town more. But 3 situations are modified by this and are corrected in the way that you've requested.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All set, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to address one email that I received. I'm not sure if you all got it. It is a retired person from a utility company who is against this policy. And they had stated that, it's going to raise our rates because, the utility's got to pay this fee. And my response back, and I want to say it publicly, is, well, Enfield has been very gracious for 40 years by charging a very low fee, and not one resident has seen a benefit of doing that. So that argument kind of didn't hold any water for me because they just keep going up and up and up. And again, we're not the top anymore, or we're not the top, so we're still within, they're the ones who are banking the extra money on these jobs. So, thank you, Chief. Anybody else? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
No.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
Against.
Councilor Crisati.
Against.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
8 members in favor, 3 against.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Chief. Okay, so next is a resolution to authorize the town manager to sign the rescission of purchase and sales contract and mutual release of claims for 5 Taylor Road. Be it resolved that the town manager is authorized to sign the rescission of the purchase and sales contract with mutual release of claims for 5 Taylor Road, date prepared 4/30/2025, prepared by the town manager's office.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. So this is the Nathan Hale School property. They came in with a completely different plan, and they did not follow through on the closing date, so we are just terminating the contract. They asked for a release and rescission. They asked for it, and the town is agreeing. So, any other questions? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crisati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini. Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Next is a resolution to hold a public hearing regarding the proposed revisions to the Enfield Town Charter. Be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council does hereby schedule a public hearing regarding the proposed revisions to the Enfield Town Charter to be held on May 12th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, in order to receive public comment. Date prepared, 4/30/2025, prepared by Sheila M. Bailey, Town Clerk.
So moved. Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Councilman Santinella.
So I just have a question. This is the date that we're adopting the budget? The same day? I mean, does this have to happen that day? Because isn't that going to be a rather engaged long evening? Or do we have that date, that time scheduled on the 12th?
Yes.
6 o'clock.
No, 7:30.
So we're going to have a half an hour discussion about the charter and
The budget at 7:30.
I thought the budget was the 19th.
but the budget was the 12th.
The budget's the 12th.
Right.
I thought we were doing it like 5:30 or 6.
Okay. Regular meeting.
At 7:30.
I just want to, just from a scheduling standpoint, does it have to be this time?
Yes.
Is that a date that we have to have? Because,
The 12th is the 45th day since the draft was filed with the council.
So it
So
has to be on
that
or
day.
before the 12th. We can, but we were trying to accommodate people from getting home from work. Right, we discussed it, but, the biggest complaint is you hold these public hearings early, we can't get there.
no, I think the public hearing should be at 7 o'clock when people are home. I totally agree with that. I'm just looking at everything else we have scheduled
get it.
that day, and it didn't, until we caucused on this, we
Well,
didn't
I mean,
realize this
when
date.
we come up to the budget on the 12th, we should all know where we are or aren't.
Budget at 6.
I mean, we haven't set that
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay,
That's
so, all
something
right,
we
so let's-
could.
So for this purpose, just for
What if we
purposes
do-
of
we'll
this.
have to-
Hold on, I have the floor, hold on.
No.
That's my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She talks over me all the time.
She's got a great
Kicks me
point,
under the
though.
table. No,
Sorry.
so, look, for purposes of this resolution, 7 o'clock, we all think that's the right time. I think we're all in agreement. Then we can talk about the budget
Yeah.
after, when we come to that. Okay, that's all. Thanks.
All set? All right, roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner. 4. Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crissati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Thank you. The next is a resolution to appropriate funds for judgment. Hernandez versus Enfield Board of Education, ETAL. Upon advice of council, the funds are necessary to satisfy the judicial award from Hernandez versus Enfield Board of Education, ETAL, needed to be appropriated so that the award can be appealed. This appropriation will increase the budget for 2025. Recommendation is the Enfield Town Council approve the following resolution. I hereby certify the funds and the above stated funds are available as of May 1st, 2025 by John A. Wilcox. Be it resolved that in accordance with Chapter 6, Section 8F of the Enfield Town Charter, the following transfer is hereby made from general funds revenue appropriate fund balance, $1,089,000 to town attorney judgments settlements, $1,089,000, date prepared 5/1/2025, prepared by John A. Wilcox.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. There shouldn't be too much discussion on this. Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
Councilor Russo.
4.
Councilor Santinella.
4.
Councilor Ungary.
4.
Councilor Sakala.
4.
Councilor Crissati.
4.
Councilor Hendrickson.
4.
Councilor Ludwig.
4.
Councilor Mangini.
4.
Councilor Nasuda.
4.
And Mayor Nelson.
4.
11 in favor, none against.
Thank you. Next is items for discussion. The Community Development Block Grant Program Income Reuse tabled on 4/22/2025. Aaron, would you like to come up? And I believe Christy is on vacation or she's unavailable tonight. So we are just going to keep this tabled for now.
That's right.
Everybody okay leaving it tabled? Thank you.
She's maybe back in state at this moment, but next time.
Not here.
Get her on the phone. Get her down.
I know, right?
So we're going to move into CIF 2030, and Aaron, take it.
Yeah, so thank you, council members. I wanted to come to you just to make sure that I was moving in the correct direction. The next round of community investment funds has opened. They're due June 6th. As you well know, the last 2 rounds, the town has focused on the mall project and moving that through. So now we're sort of back to where we were. Whenever we last left the CIF, it was the Hazardville Institute project, project with the parking lot in the back. So that project is more or less ready to go again. A little bit of cleanup, a little bit of tightening up numbers, some modifications. We all know prices have changed over these last couple of years. And I wanted to make sure that it was okay to continue on with that. The second point of clarification is that in the past, the sense has been we only do one project at a time. The state has very explicitly told us you do not need to do that. You should put in whatever projects you think make sense. And in talking around town and with other people, the second idea that I had is to apply for a planning grant. That would be $250,000 that would look at creating cost estimates and preliminary designs for renovations to buildings that the town owns that are historic in nature. One of the major changes to the CIF program over this time has been that they want to move away from things like the mall, and they want to move towards things that are much more community focused. So they want to see things that the community is really going to be using, i.e. Pearl Street Library, for example. Can we improve the bathrooms there? Can we improve accessibility? Old Town Hall, if the other grant that I've applied for doesn't come through, those types of things. So that was my second thought on the planning grant. And then the third item that I wanted to bring to you was a broader-based question that if the town is approached by any other outside groups that may be looking to do a project, are we supporting them? What would be that process to bring that back to you? So those are your items of discussion. I'm happy to expand or detail any of them however you want to go with this.
Thank you. So I guess my first question is, would you guys support if the Historic Society was interested in trying to apply for some funds for the Martha Parsons house and get that off the table of possibly being sold? You know, that may help. I know Bill Hosley has come up with some great ideas, not only ideas, him and his family have offered quite a bit of money. So maybe we can set up a meeting with Bill and Peter Sorensen and, a couple liaisons, and let's sit down and see if we can't take advantage of this, and let's save a piece of history in Enfield. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to try something like that.
I will add to that. I think that that's got an interesting possibility to it that may be better for the round after, just because the other part that CIF has done is they have tightened up their rules. They need drawings. They need very specific things. So the speed at which I could pull something like that together might be a little iffy, but certainly for the next round after that.
Well, we can start discussions with them.
Discussing.
I mean, I don't even know if they're interested.
I don't know either. Yeah, it's a good question.
So, Mike.
The Institute is ready to go. It should be, in my opinion, should be on it. It's ready to go. They've worked out. And to your idea of planning, we threw around this a few years ago with all the historic locations in Enfield. And it's sort of, again, without, to your thing, what if we, to tie them all over town, have some sort of, again, please don't take it, a duck tour.
Oh, yeah.
You have, money where you can connect all the buildings all over town, turn it into a little mini tourist thing. And again, if I can, we've done this to help a private organization. I'd love to see us focus on helping some of the community groups.
Yeah.
I'm all for helping private, companies. But again, they have developers. They spend a lot of money. I'd love to see us focus. Hasville Institute, they've been working on it. It's almost ready to go.
Yep.
And then some of these other connections that we can tie in, because we have buildings all over town.
We do.
And another little unique thing, like, no one thinks about the Wallop School, for example.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, you got that. I mean, you can go out to, you can go to Skidco. I mean, you can tie the entire town. And again, the guy that does the bike, I understand he does it for entertainment now, but that kind of idea, instead of maybe partying when you're doing it, you drive around town on a bike and stop at, again, all the beautiful locations.
Microbreweries.
Whatever. Right? Well, I'm not suggesting microbreweries now, but I mean, I think, and we talked about doing like a horse and buggy.
Yep.
But it didn't make sense.
Trolley tours, those sort of things.
Something like that. But I would be all for it, because I think it's cool, and we have so many, and it's all over town too.
I like
that's the
that.
other thing. It's not just in Thompsonville. It's in Hazardville. It's in, Shaker Lake. It's all over the place. And then we've always forget about the Shaker buildings in prison.
Yep.
I mean, so you can tie it into all the kids playing soccer on a Saturday afternoon.
Right.
So just an idea. And I'd be all for it. But I mean, Hasville Institute in my opinion, has to be in the next round.
Okay.
Do we own the Shaker buildings, or is the state own
I think
them?
the state does now, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, there's still one that's in private hands that's kind of in
I
the
can't
best
remember,
version.
right.
Yeah.
It's what?
It's the best one to me that's in private hands, right next to the old Lego building.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I have faith in Aaron. I agree with you. The Institute, they've stepped aside the mall, everything. They've, several of their members donated the land to take care of the parking situation. I mean, anybody who's anybody has been involved with the Institute throughout the years. I mean, come and gone. And, it's sad to say some of the people aren't even here to see it finished, but it's a project that we really need to see it through now that the parking's been resolved. So I would agree with you, Mike. We prioritize the Hazardville Institute top. And then, other libraries. I mentioned the library in Hazardville, that little one, maybe
Little round
converting it into bathrooms for the park that's there. I know Gina likes bathrooms, so.
We'll get them
I got you, Gina.
But again,
We'll get them somewhere. Yeah.
Right. So I understand it's shovel-ready, but I think you've got consensus from
Okay.
us to, use your best judgment, but the Institute is a priority for us on number one for CIF.
And so then, Mike kind of mentioned the idea of if others coming, sort of staying away from some of the for-profits, which I'm going to tell you, I think CIF wants us to stay away from them. But, if we have another nonprofit that shows up and says, we'd like to do a project, I will bring it back to you all, but are you opposed to that?
Oh, yeah.
No, you
Okay.
never say no.
Okay.
Never
I just want to
say-
make sure.
because- Yeah,
I want to give
mean,
people the right answer when they come in my door.
Right. The best idea is the idea we haven't heard yet, so.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay.
So, good?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. And next is the charter revision recommendations. So the way this works is the council has had the charter revision committee's draft of what they're doing, and we can accept it the way it is. We can make recommendations and send it back to the committee. And then they can make the decision, then it comes back to us for a final yes or no, whether it's going to referendum or not. We could say, no, we don't accept it, or yes, we do, but we cannot alter the document at that point. So this
May
is.
I just
Sure.
interject? I had a conversation with one of the assistant town attorneys today, so I think that's something he's going to want to weigh in on in the future as far as the step after charter revision reviews the town council's suggestions, if they have any. So the more information to come.
Does he want to discuss it?
They talked to Larry. She talked to Larry today.
Oh,
The newest town attorney.
okay. And he'll be at the charter revision?
He has asked me if I would invite him at.
And you were like, come on down.
Come on down.
Try and stop them.
So we all know what the Charter Revision Commission did. They put a lot of work in, all the volunteers and everything, I think did a great job. There were a lot of different opinions. And, I think we worked well together, and there were a few issues that we didn't completely agree on. So at this point, it's up to the council to accept it the way it is or make the changes. I personally, the flag policy is almost should be mandatory is in the charter because it's not one town, Hartford in Connecticut. It's 5 towns now that are under legal obligation or facing lawsuits because they have a policy or they don't have a policy, and that created tension. And this just avoids a lawsuit. It's a no-brainer. I mean, why do we even want to chance it? We just approved $1 million for something that could have been avoided, but it wasn't. And now we're paying, the taxpayers are paying $1 million. It's ridiculous. So my recommendation is that for sure goes back to the Charter Revision Commission for them to relook at it, especially now with the additional 5 lawsuits right here in Connecticut. I think that's imperative we send that back. Is there consensus to send that back?
Yes.
Okay, there's consensus?
Yes.
Go ahead, Marie.
No, yes,
Oh.
I'm agreeing. My hand's up,
Yeah.
yes.
No, I know. You said no. You're on mic. Right, but there's consensus. So And are there any other changes? I mean, the other biggest thing we did there was and this budget would qualify for it, is any budget over 5% increase to the residents of Enfield would automatically trigger a referendum, meaning you, the voter, and the taxpayer have a say on a 6.4% budget. If you say no, it automatically reverts to the 5%. Now, we weren't in full agreement on this, and a lot of the discussion was, what is the number? Number started at 4 and went as high as 8%, and we agreed to 5. And I agreed that I would support 5 at the committee and on the floor if the committee agreed to send it at 5%, and they did. So I'm not going to challenge the 5%. What do you guys, Councilman or Deputy Mayor Pisner?
I'd like to see it lower. I'd like to see it somewhere more around 4. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'd like to see it more around 4.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Mangini.
Thank you. I would not like to see the budget go to referendum at all. And the reason for that is because with a town the size of Enfield, there are a lot of dollars at stake, as we all know. And how is it fair to the taxpayer to go to the voting booth and vote yay or nay on a budget when 90% of the taxpayers have not been given the opportunity or the materials or the background information that we have to make an intelligent decision on that budget? That's all I have to say. I'm going to rest it right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mangini. And that's why we televise the budget meetings and all the books are put out so they have the same information we do. It's transparency. Councilman Sakala.
So first, I will say I actually don't support any budget going to referendum. I think that's a recipe for success at all. That being said, we appointed members to the Charter Revision to do the work. I find it ingenuine that we want to now send things back to them because the 11 of us or 6 of us or 5 of us or 7 of us don't agree with something. I don't necessarily agree with the referendum number, but I'm going to be okay with what the Charter Revision Commission has decided as of right now. I'm not a fan of this part of us now exercising our authority over the Revision Commission and saying, you guys should now go look at this because the 11 of us, or some of the 11 of us, don't like what you had to say. That's what I have to say about that.
I believe it's state statute that this process happens. This isn't us overriding.
Well, I didn't say overriding. I said exercising our control, and now we want them to go look at something because we don't like what they have to say. That's honestly what we're doing.
Okay. Councilman Crissati.
Yeah, I do have to say, being on this commission, along with yourself and Councilor Ludwig, we spent a lot of time and effort into this, and there was a lot of give and take, all right? I'm good with the way that the report came out, the draft report. I am good with it, even though I was not in favor of the referendum. However, we did give and take a little. I was okay with the 5%. Okay. But once again, I think people have to realize that we do have the recommendations that will go back to our committee, and then the committee will make the final vote. All right. So just want to let everybody know that this council will not be the final word as to what goes to the referendum. That's the only point that I want to make tonight.
I just want to, you're correct.
Yeah.
But we have the final word whether it does go to referendum or not.
Correct.
We can't change it.
Correct.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
That I do know. Yep. Okay.
May I?
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that the council understands that you have 15 days from the date of the public hearing that we just set on for the 12th to finalize the report. Okay.
Right, so we'll schedule that. The 12th is the public hearing. The following council meeting, it must be on the agenda. Yep. All right, any other questions? Is there consensus for Marie's proposal? Councilman Ludwig.
Guys, again, I wasn't there at the meeting that I missed. That's the one meeting I missed. But I think, it's interesting when it comes to the budget referendum. One can argue, and again, I argue, is that every election, most voters don't know who they're voting for and what they stand for. So the argument that people aren't going to know how to vote in a budget, I'm sorry, doesn't fly with me, because most elections, people don't honestly know who they really vote for. But the point is, we're trying to get people to be more educated, to understand their process, and again, to know where their money's being spent. And I think this process has helped. I'm amazed that more people aren't outraged that their federal dollars are being completely ripped off from the taxpayer, and you're not upset about it, no matter what your political beliefs are. You work hard for your money, and you give it to the government, and they shouldn't be robbing you from it. And so for me, I take it seriously when it comes to every single tax dollar, and I may be in the minority. I compromise, I think, as much as anybody, because I wanted to see a different version of the budget referendum. I think it's worthwhile. I think it forces people to understand where their tax dollars are going, which is a good thing. And I also think 5% is too high. I had originally started 3%, but again, I was wanting to compromise with the committee. I'm fine with 4%. I'm fine with the flag policy. I voted for it up front in the committee. I also wanted term limits, which I was in the minority, to be for folks that people didn't meeting, because I believe in term limits at the federal government and state government, because quite frankly, again, you're getting ripped off. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I believe in term limits at the local level. I didn't win, no biggie. But I think, again, this is a good process, and for people to participate more in government is supposedly what we're all here for, that no matter what your political beliefs are, we want you to participate. And what better way to participate if, again, the council, our job is to make tough cuts. We're the backstop. This is it. The buck doesn't go any farther. So we have to make the tough decisions. We have to have the people come here tell me not to cut their budget, but that's what we have to do. And you know what? You should want to say in your budget. I know I do. And again, if I'm not running anymore and I'm not in, I want to make sure that people are spending my money the right way. And I don't think that's asking for much. So I agree with the 4%, and I agree with the flag policy.
Okay. So this is, just to be clear, this is anything over. The proposal, the charter revision was 5%. The proposal on the floor is 4%. Anything under that, your council will continue to make the decisions. But I think this is truly a wake-up call for a $750 a year tax increase. Now, this is the perfect budget. Certain people were okay with just doing that, and most residents wouldn't even know about it till they open their tax bill and sticker shock. So this is just them saying, hello, this is what we want to do, and they should have to explain this is why we want to do it. And I do believe we are elected to make the tough decisions, but I have to say, a budget, I mean, we're not even at, or we're over 5% now. So, and look at the decisions we have to make. And I think it should boil down to the residents. I mean, are they okay with a tax increase? Or do they prefer to lay off a police officer over a teacher, or a teacher over a EMS person? And because that's what it comes down to when you start getting into these higher numbers. And it prevents a rogue council, not that it'll ever happen, but like Mike said, look what happened at the federal level, from just going and just crazy on the budget and saying, we feel education was unfunded for the last 20 years, give them $20 million. And right now, they can do it. So it's just a protection. That's it. So what is, Marie, your 4%? Mike, did you?
live with that.
What do you guys want to do? 4?
You got 6 votes.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that.
I'm against it, so that's my opinion.
Okay. So there is consensus to send the flag policy and ask them to revisit it, and dropping it from 5 to 4%, and there were 6 in favor of that. 5 to 4%, right. So at this point, Sheila, do you schedule another charter revision committee?
I believe you're going to want to wait until after the public hearing, so when you hear from the public, you might have additional items that you may want to address.
Okay, all right, good. So we're not locked in.
Right.
You know, the public can come in and talk. Yep, that is, so, okay, that's that. And then any other business proper to come before said meeting? Seeing none. Public communications, if before 11 p.m., is there anyone who would like to come and speak? Seeing none. And then councilman communications? Seeing none. I'm kidding. Deputy Mayor Pisner.
I just want to wish everybody out there a very, very happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. And anyone else? Seeing none, I also agree, and want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. And I wish my mom happy Mother's Day in heaven.
There you go.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Everybody have a great night.
Such a